Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and this is MotivationU the Podcast. Hey, welcome to MotivationU the Podcast. And today we're coming from live here at the MotivationU office. So that's where we're doing our show from in Valdosta, Georgia. It's also the home of Dale Carnegie Training of Jacksonville and South Georgia. Usually we're right where Evan is today at the Coach's Podcast room within Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where I love to be every single Thursday. I enjoy going there whenever I get that opportunity. It's a great place. It's at Celebration Point, an incredible restaurant. And Evan and I were just talking before we went on about just how when you go someplace else to another restaurant and you try one of the dishes that you get at Spurrier's and you compare them, there's no comparison. I mean, Andrew and Chef Mark and the team at Spurrier's, Coach, they just like knocked it out of the ballpark. And so that's where we love to be, right there. And I was also mentioning, Devin, I missed my coffee. I usually get a nice, the Opus coffee that just tastes so good that you get at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. So next week, I'll be back there at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill to do the show from the Coach's Podcast room. Great restaurant. Get a chance. Driving south Michigan, a little bit of fans heading down to the Orange Bowl this year. If you're heading down to the Orange Bowl, you got to go down I-75. Just get off at exit 384 and hang a right. You'll see the signs to Celebration Point. Go up to Celebration Point. You'll see the sign that says Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Go in there, grab some food, an appetizer or whatever. Just enjoy the ambiance and the incredible museum that is there too. I absolutely loved last week. Evan, I don't know if they still had it on the little Santa cap on Coach Spurrier's Heisman Trophy. That was spot on. That was like a perfect thing to see the Heisman there behind the glass with a little Santa cap on it. So great. So today's show is kind of a recap of what we've done over the last year. Talk about leadership, talk about some of the guests that we've had on, maybe even some of the leaders that we've lost. And what is the importance of leadership? And what are the things that make a great leader? Everything that I have to say doesn't always necessarily mean what great leaders are. It's just my opinion. It's what I've observed, what I've seen, and what I encourage other people to reach out and do when they want to improve their leadership. One of the best ways you can improve your leadership skills, quite frankly, is take a Dale Carnegie course. I don't know how many people I've spoken to that just that was something that was a pivotal part of their life when they went through that program. And we do have one coming in Gainesville on January 25th at Hotel Indigo. We have one in Jacksonville starting on the 25th also. So they both start that Tuesday night. And you can get there from jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Go to our website, sign up, bingo. You'll hear from me after you sign up, and we'll get you part of that program. But when we look at great leaders and we talk about the leaders that we've had, this whole show is about leadership. And the premise of it is that if you're shopping at Walmart, if you're going someplace within your community, you're probably interacting with some great leaders. Just because they don't have the name of Bezos and they don't show pictures on USA Today about Jeff Bezos, sitting on the back of his yacht in some tropical land with this yacht that's bigger than, most people's homes. You don't have to be that to be a great leader. It doesn't mean it's that person that makes a difference in people's lives. Let me give you a quick story. Many years ago, I ran a radio station in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Benton Harbor, Michigan, for us Michiganders, is down here on the Lake Michigan, down in this part of your hand. And it is also the home of Whirlpool Corporation. So David Whitwam was the CEO at the time. One of the owners, or the main owner of the radio station I worked for, was David Upton, whose family started Whirlpool. His uncle and his dad started Whirlpool. And David Whitwam was the CEO of Whirlpool Corporation. But the cool thing about the man was that he was just like you or me. We went to the same dry cleaner. I would see David in there all the time, and he was always shake your hand. Hey, Bob, how you doing? Great. I called him Mr. Whitwam at the time. I was a very young business guy. But whenever we had a promotion and there was money that we were trying to raise for some charity, his wife was always like the first one in line. These people live amongst us. It doesn't have to be the CEO at some huge company, Amazon or Microsoft. It can be that person running, your local Dollar General that's making an impact in your community. You see them at church. You see them. Those are the great leaders that we want to touch in this show. And that's what we've tried to do over the years. So the first guest we ever had on was Scott James, a good friend of mine, mayor of the city of Valdosta. Scott and I worked together in radio business for a number of years. He's also an entrepreneur himself. And he talked about always being prepared for everything. You just have to understand that as a leader, something's going to happen, and you have to be prepared for what happens. Because it's not the stimulus. It's how you react to the stimulus that makes a difference. And, like when the pandemic hit, we talked about that with Scott. He had to make decisions quickly. And they were citywide decisions, countywide decisions. And he had to make those decisions. And the important part was not what he did, but how he reacted to what happened. And so we want to work with that. We also had Coach Spurrier on. Coach Spurrier talked about so many things. That was right before we lost Coach Bobby Bowden. So we had a good conversation about that. But Coach said you got to listen to your players. And we got to, Mr. Carnegie has a principle that says ask questions instead of giving direct orders. And that's kind of what Coach was saying. He would listen to his players. They were on the field. They were in the heat of the battle. They were out there. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? What's going on out there? And then he was able to make decisions based upon the feedback he was getting from his team. And he shared with us, like 1989, he that first time that really happened for him was when he was coaching at Duke. And one of his players came and said, Coach, let's keep doing this. And so he changed his plan, kept doing that, and they won the game. And ever since then, he's always really listened to his team. So that's a vitally important part of doing things. We had on many individuals. Freddie Wiebe himself, who we get to work with at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and and We Be Marketing and Make It Happen. Freddie, he talked about, just gathering data, gathering information, knowing as much as you possibly can. There's a plethora of information out there on the internet and in different places, good stuff, reliable information, reliable data you can research. I noticed that Freddie I've been a little bit on my back for the last few days with the flu, but I saw that Freddie had posted something about the James Webb Telescope. And the cool thing about that is that I had the ability to, or the opportunity, I should say, to train some of the young engineers that were tabbed by Northrop Grumman to work on that project. And the same day that Freddie posted that, one of the young engineers, Jason Matteo, he posted on his Facebook page a little picture of the telescope while he was standing next to it, and just to be able to experience that is incredible. And you can tap into all of that information. You can find that. So leadership is something that we all have to do. So let me talk a couple of things about leadership. First of all, to me, the most important thing about becoming a big leader or a great leader or an effective leader is communication, period. If you cannot communicate to people, I get so many people that call me over the last couple of days, the last few weeks, that say, I want to take a leadership class in 2022. Great, we have those. And that's not necessarily my attitude, but yes, we do have that. But you got to first start with communication. If you can't communicate your ideas to people, if you can't get your thought process out to another individual, it's hard to lead them. So you have to be a great communicator, which includes an excellent listener. Being able to understand that and to ask questions to clarify exactly what somebody means. So the four things that I look at is communication, listening, being consistent, and whatever your personality is, be consistent. What you don't want to do is surprise everybody every time. Like, what Bob are we going to get today? You want to be consistent. And then an attitude of us and not me. I've seen so many leaders that they want to get to this place of leadership so that they can pound their chest and say, hey, look at me. But leadership is not about me. It's about us. It's about the team. It's about moving forward. Even if I have to push others forward a little bit and stay in the background, that's important. It's kind of like the difference between running the team versus ruining the team. If you look at those two words, running and ruining, you take an N out and you put an I in. And when the I goes in, like they say there's no I in team, well, running a team, you put that other I in there, it's ruining, R-U-I-N-I-N-G. You don't want to do that. But when leadership becomes about me and becomes about what I want, you're going to fall apart and you're going to go backwards. And we lost some good leaders this year. Tommy Lasorda. What do you learn from Tommy Lasorda, the great Los Angeles Dodgers manager? He was with the Dodgers for what? 80 years, something like that. I mean, forever. He bled Dodger blue forever. It was never about him. It was always about the team. You can go find some of those mic'd up pieces on YouTube about Tommy Lasorda and listen to the things that he says when it's captured live in the moment. And man, the guy was all about the team. Coach Bowden, the same way. Coach Bowden was all about Florida State. It was always about the team. It was always about the kids. Now, later in his career, he wanted to get his kids involved in the coaching, and there was some feedback, and you shouldn't have this person, that. But Coach Bowden was always about the team. We lost him this year. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday now, we lost John Madden, another great coach, another great leader. It was all about the sport. You think about how many people that man touched. I mean, young folks he coached in the 70s. And I think of, individuals that are in their teens now that know football because of Madden football. And then he was a broadcaster. I mean, the way that we watch sports on television, a lot of that was created by Coach Madden. So communication is so important. And I talked about consistency. Consistency is important also. It's a huge part of it. Sure, we need to be humble, and we need to be, inspiring, and we need to be motivating, and all of those things. You can't be them if you don't communicate well. And you can't be that if you don't listen well, because we got to keep our ear to the ground of what our team is saying. But we also need to be consistent, so that every day we're coming in with the same thought process and still trying, how can we get better? How can we get better? How can we get better? What can we do to get better? How am I thinking? At the end of the day, I like to sit down and just think, like, what did I do today? What could have I done better? And what would I like to do more of tomorrow? So those are the three things that I try to focus on is, what did I do today? What could I have done better? And what do I want to do more of tomorrow? Those things are really important to take, thought of that, so you can be consistent in your leadership. And then again, the attitude is not about me. It's not about I. It's about the team. Mr. Carnegie has a principle that says, basically, let the other person think the idea is his or hers. Now, I've heard people criticize that principle. I can't do that, or that's not fair, or really, in the end, to be a really good leader, who cares who gets the accolades? It's basically, how did the team do? Did we move forward? Did we hit budget? Did we accomplish our goal? Did we get the project finished? Whatever it is, those are the things that we do. So, but I digress at sometimes about that, because when we look at some of the leaders that we talked about this past 21 shows now, I think 20 or 21 shows that we've done, I think of some of the individuals. I think of Glenn Miller, Dr. Glenn Miller. He was on the same day that Coach Spurrier was on. And Dr. Glenn Miller taught us about perseverance. Here's a gentleman that started as a police officer in, I believe, Atlantic Beach, Florida. And as he worked his way up to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and to the SWAT team, and worked his way through levels of promotions, he also got his undergrad, got his master's, and then got his doctorate in education from the University of Florida. While he was raising a family, building a marriage, and doing his job. I mean, he worked full time and accomplished those things. And then I hear people say, I don't have time to fill in the blank, whatever it is. I didn't have time to whatever it is. That lesson of perseverance from Dr. Glenn Miller was like eye-opening to me. It's not a matter of time. It's a matter of priorities. We're going to talk about that in the second half of the program today, but that was something that I really learned from Dr. Glenn Miller, which if you want something bad enough, if something is important enough to you, you're going to create the time. You may have to sacrifice some things that you like, but you can do it. You know, one of the biggest things, if you look over here, it's a television set. I know when that thing is on, I'm not being productive. The less I turn that on, the more productive I am. For a lot of individuals, if you can shut that off and walk away from it, you can accomplish a lot more in your life. You know, there's a leather chair that sits over here on this side of the room. I can sit in that leather chair and watch that thing, or I can go to Planet Fitness and work out. What's better for me? Or I can put my headsets on and listen to a book. Book I'm listening to right now is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Great book. So those are some of the things that we do as leaders. Look, if you have a question, don't hesitate to text it to us. Evan will make sure that I get the question and I'll try to answer it for you. You can find us like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, any place that you get Spotify, Google Podcasts, any place that you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, you can find us here. Click subscribe, like, send information, ask questions, whatever you are interested in. It would be great to hear from you. So, but this whole thing is about leadership. But if you have a question about a Dale Carnegie class, ask away. It's all right with me. I love to have those discussions. So going back to our thought process, some of the other people that we had on, we heard from Freddie's wife, Doreen Wiebe, and her journey from Lebanon to France to coming to America, and the difference in people's attitudes about communication and some of those, and how she overcame that to become a great, successful real estate agent in the area, and just like basically not all on her own. She was smart enough to get help from other people and to seek education in some places. But still, it's still that driving force, is that incredible energy that a person has. So we've had some wonderful guests. I think of my friend Bob Miller, and his dad was my college baseball coach. We lost him in 2020. I just saw today that we're going to have on June 17th a celebration of his life up in Michigan, and I plan to make it to that. But Bob shared with us what it was like to live in the world of the nonprofits, and what the leadership styles are so different in that area. And it was fun to have him on also. Plus Michael Smith from the United Way here in Valdosta, James Gadsby, who runs Danny Werfel's foundation. What an incredible guest. I mean, to go back and just listen to him. I wish I could cut myself out of that whole session that day and just sit there and listen to James talk, because he just so eloquent and great words. So we've had some great people that have taught us a lot about leadership in this past year, and we're going to continue that as we go forward. into 2022. I have some great guests lined up. In February, I think on February 3rd, I'm going to have my daughter on. My daughter is a director for a company called Articulate, which is a fantastic company, no brick and mortar. Everybody, the few hundred employees that they have are all working out of their homes across the earth. And it's an incredible organization. And where they have come in the years that she's been with him. And we'll talk to her about a little bit about her, her journey of education and some other things. She graduated from the University of Florida, got her MBA from the University of Michigan, and worked for this company for a long time now. But some of the other companies and her interaction with a company called Salesforce that she used to work with when she worked for another company in New York years ago. So there's a lot of fun to do that. That'll be February 3rd. And then February 10th, a local gentleman in Gainesville, John Rappa, just fascinating man. I have been following him for a couple of years now and watched his transformation from strictly law enforcement to now, being more of a media type of individual and training law enforcement and really helping law enforcement, and his podcast. And you're really going to enjoy that show, and have a few other ones lined up too. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick break. We're not at Spurrier's today, but you can be at Spurrier's today. They open up 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Evan's giving me the big four fingers. So they open up at 4 o'clock, and you can stop by there and have dinner. Celebration Point, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, visors up on top, the deck, where it should be a nice day today. Probably go out there, sit outside underneath the sun and enjoy some refreshments, watch a little bit of football. Who knows? Maybe even see the coach walking by. Sometimes that happens. So anyways, we come to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. I'm Bob Ganzak. This is MotivationU the Podcast.
We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. Making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Ganzak. We come to you live every single Thursday from 11 to 12 at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's Celebration Point inside the Coach's Podcast Room. And I'm not there today. I'm looking at the picture of the podcast room right now, and I see all those great Gator helmets and other helmets that Coach played for. And I'm wearing my maize and blue today, of course, because of football tomorrow night. And being a big Michigan fan and being a big Gator fan, Gator season is done. 100% towards my Wolverines now, and got to beat those dogs tomorrow night. We're in a little family divided here. So my wife is a huge Bulldog fan, and all of her kids except for one, Jordan, goes to the University of Florida and is a Gator fan. But the other 6 of her kids, my stepkids, are huge Georgia fans. And her son, Blake, who's up in Athens right now, graduated from the University of Georgia. Jordan will graduate from the University of Florida in 2022. My daughter graduated from the University of Florida in 2008. And then graduated from the University of Michigan MBA in 2018, I think it was, someplace around there. Anyways, so we have this little inner battle that goes on. So all week long, we haven't talked about it yet. We probably won't be able to watch the game together. I'll probably watch it here in my office, and my wife will watch it in the living room. But it'll be fun, and whoever wins, it doesn't really matter, because all we want, whoever wins, is to beat Alabama. And if Cincinnati beats Alabama, that's fine too. But I think everybody is just waiting for somebody else to win the national title. But it goes back to leadership, and sometimes great leaders. But it's funny. You look at those 4 coaches that are left, and all of them have their own unique, styles and way they do things, but they're all looked upon as great leaders. Harbaugh, Saban, Smart, Fickle, they're all great leaders. And you can study any one of them and some of the things, or their roots, where their leadership came from, or the coaches that they worked for or played under. And you start to see how that happens. And it happens in our life too. There's no difference. Jim Harbaugh coaches a lot like Bo Schembechler did. He played for Bo Schembechler in college. So there's a lot of that trickles down over the years. When we look at our teams, the same thing happens. Our teams are business teams. It's kind of the people that we worked for, that their leadership styles trickle down the same way that they do in sports. You can study leadership and see similar patterns that go through. What the key is, as you're on your journey for leadership, is to find some of those things that maybe were not as effective that you saw when you worked for somebody, and work on those and develop other techniques and keep studying. Just because that's the way we've always done it, that's never the right answer. So as we take and embark on this last half hour of this show here in the year 2021, I want to take a moment or about the next 20 minutes to talk about what we can do going forward. Now, many times we talk about New Year's resolutions, and I'm changing that word this year, because New Year's resolutions are a joke. They're things that we laugh at. If you talk to anybody at a fitness club, they will tell you that, hey, we'll do real good between, we'll be crowded between like January 3rd and February 10th, and then it starts trickling down, and by March, nobody's in here anymore again. It's because I've got this resolution to do this. So we've shifted that. And we're going to take that word resolution and change it to re-solution. We're going to rework this solution. Now, if you've ever gone on to like the app Medium, there's a lot of great reading in there. As a matter of fact, you can find stuff every place. Quora, IdeaPod, Medium, any place you can search and grab great information. I like Medium. And usually when you read somebody telling you what you need to do for 2022, I mean, like, why do you want to tell somebody what to do? I mean, I don't know, but they give you a list of like 14 things or 18 things or 9 things that'll change your life in the new year, or 15 things that'll change your life, 25 things that'll make your world so much better. Our minds don't work in 25s and 15s and 18s and 19s. Our minds tend to work in 3s. Okay? 3 blind mice, yellow, green, red, stoplight, good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, we tend to be in 3s, right? 3's a crowd, the 3 Musketeers, the 3 Stooges. I mean, we have these 3 bullet points in our mind. Even Warren Buffett said, if you want to really be successful, write down 25 things that you want to accomplish. Write them down on a piece of paper. 25 things that you really, really want in life. Write them down. Circle the top 5 and get rid of the bottom 20. Don't ever think of them again, because all they're going to do is detract from the 5 things that are most important to you. Great idea. Great thought process. Just delete them, because we all want to narrow things down. So I've narrowed down my top things for the upcoming year. And in no way do I suggest that this is what you do. This is just what I'm going to do. But I encourage you to make a similar list. Just take top 3 things that you would like to accomplish in the new year, whatever that is, and put them down. Or 3 things that will change your life in the new year. Positively, put them down. So here are my 3. Number 1, eliminate negative people in your life. Now, I do not mean like eliminate them. I don't mean to get rid of them. I brought a little prop along. This is something I got a number of years ago from Stevie Van Zandt, played Silvio in The Sopranos. To Bob, who loves you, baby, Stevie Van Zandt. I don't mean to, be the Sopranos and get rid of them. I mean, sometimes even your own family, you've got to minimize the exposure of the negativity that comes along with that. You've got to protect your time. We all have the same amount of time, and it's how we utilize it. And in the coming year, if you can eliminate some of that negative influence into your world, it'll be much better. There's many ways you can do that. Again, we go back to being a leadership, communicate. One of the things is learning how to have tough conversations. You don't want to get into shouting matches. You don't want to scream and yell and get your adrenaline all fired up. You want to learn how to have those tough conversations so that you can share with somebody and say, listen, I really would love to spend more time with you. There are certain things that have happened over the past that we can't have anymore. We really can't. And when we start going down that path, I may hang up the phone, or I may block that out. So you can't let those people rent space in your head. The negative people, you just can't. Somebody looks cross-eyed at you, and you sit there and you worry about it, and it affects everything you do. And you start showing up on social media and telling people like, oh my goodness, this is what happened, and that is what happened. And all of a sudden you're blowing things out of proportion. For most people, something happens, they forget about it and they move on. But it's those individuals that just grind on you and want to rent space in your head and want to continually come. Now, I'll be fair with this. Sometimes we start it ourselves. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. That's the first principle in Dale Carnegie. Many times, some of these tough relationships is because you're criticizing somebody else. All right? Or you're complaining all the time. Eliminate it. But when I talk about eliminating negative people in your life, for some people, this might be tough. I mean, it really might. It might be a loved one or a close friend. And sometimes you don't have the heart to do it, yet you have to. You need to do it for your own health so that you can move forward. My goal is to not allow people to rent space in my head in 2022. I don't want to be driving down the road thinking about, geez, what did I do to that person? I just don't want to do that. If people want to be a part of your world, they're going to make time for you and you're going to make time for them. That's how things happen. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. But like we talked about earlier, sometimes if you say, I don't have time for that, really? You had time for a lot of other things. Sometimes maybe it's better to let that slide or let it go. So not allowing negative people to affect my life. I'm in the world of sales, so I talk to a lot of individuals about putting together programs for their teams. And sometimes people say no, and sometimes people get real ugly about what we do, or I'm just not going to let that affect me in the upcoming year. I'm going to work hard not to let that affect me. So that's number one. Eliminate negative people in your life. Now, again, let me also say, it doesn't mean getting rid of them totally. Sometimes it's just putting them in a box that, when I go to the holidays, I'm going to see this individual and I'm going to be cordial, and I'm not going to let them get to me no matter what the situation is. So they're not going to rent space in my mind. The second thing is eliminating negative thoughts. The voice we hear the most is our own. And it's like a soundtrack of your life. When there's nothing going on, there's always your innermost thoughts going on. You're always thinking, talking, thinking. We create many of our own problems just from our thoughts. Our minds are incredibly creative, incredible computer. They can take something that is not existent and you can make it a reality in your own world. You can use it as a positive too, where you can take a tragic thing that has happened to you or something that has just befalling you, a breakup or something like that, and you can turn it into a stepping stone of positivity as you go forward. So eliminating those negative thoughts, I can't. Freddie Wiebe posted something on Instagram or on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago. I've got to go back and find it, but it made me start thinking. And there are things in your life that life is too short to put up with, basically was the scenario. But why do we put up with some of those things? And the reason is because inside your comfort zone is a lot of things. if I had this whiteboard here, if that is your comfort zone, inside that comfort zone is a lot of things. There's a lot of positive things that you like, but also there's a lot of negative things that become your comfort. And that is like listening to people say things like, oh, you can't do that. All right? Because it's somebody that's inside your comfort zone. You can't. What do? You believe it. I can't do that. I don't have the ability to do that because it happened inside my comfort zone. All right? All right. Here's another one. What will people say? What will people say? Oh, that would be something my mom would say to me. But Bobby, what will people say? What are they going to say if you do that? And that's coming from inside my comfort zone. So what do? We believe it. It's it's an okay place. That's coming from people inside my comfort zone. You can't let those negative thoughts affect you. You've got to look at the facts and do what is best for you. Well, Bob, that's selfish. That's only thinking of yourself. No, it's not. If I take care of my health, if I take care of my life, if I take care of the things that are needed in my world, it gives me a better opportunity to run my company, to help my family, to be there for my kids or my stepkids or my wife or my sister or my nieces, my nephews when they need me. And if I let those things affect me all the time, I'm done. So stop being selfish. It's just eliminating some of those negative thoughts in our brain and not letting them interfere with what we're doing. We have this huge circle of influence around us. You've got to make sure that you influence you. Don't let your huge circle of influence be the sole thing that's influencing you. You've got to make sure that you influence you. So for me, and really, I'm not preaching to you. Definitely not. This is for me. I'm preaching to myself. I've got to make sure that I'm taking care of Bob, because then I can take care of my classes, my friends. I can help my family and be more healthy in the upcoming year. So those are things those two things. So eliminate the negative people, eliminate the negative thoughts that are going on in my mind. My third thing, remember I told you there would be three. My third thing is to stop procrastination. I'm a terrible procrastinator. Cool thing about it, I've perfected it. I'm really good at procrastinating. I mean, if we ever had a contest, like maybe like one of the big networks could have a procrastination playoff or something like that, I could probably get myself into that, because I've perfected it over the last 66 years, and I hate it. So my goal in this year is to stop my procrastination. And I'll tell you where a lot of my procrastination comes from, and it may come in your world also, is from what I was pointing at back there, those negative thoughts in my mind. So I'll have a project that I have to get done, and all of a sudden the mind starts working. Well, they're going to say no. It's not going to be successful. Or somebody within my center of influence says, well, I don't think you can do that, or that's not a good idea. I don't like the color. I don't like this. I don't like that. All of a sudden you start thinking, oh yeah, they're probably right. So you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. And then your mind starts thinking, well, I still got another week. I got another couple of days. Or, man, I've always been able to pull it out of the fire. I'll pull it out of the fire at the last second. Gosh, the stress that goes on with that is just absolutely incredible. I've got to stop procrastination. One of the reasons I'm reading the book, Atomic Habits, is so that I can change a lot of my habits, because I know that a lot of my procrastination comes from my negative habits, things that I do that trigger me to do something that just drives me crazy. But I've got to make a shift in that, and I've got to make a change in that and start being more positive. So those are my 3 things for the year that I'm going to work on, is to change my life by eliminating the negative people. Again, I say eliminating. I should say minimizing the negative people in my life by understanding before I go into a situation exactly what's going on. Eliminating those negative thoughts, working on really being positive, and then stop procrastination. Those 3 things. I could make a list of 25 things that I'd like to accomplish in the year. If I can do those 3 things, see, Evan, I'm going to catch myself. When I do those 3 things, I will make a shift in my life that'll be a lot more positive. So what are some of the things that you can control? As we look forward to 2022, some of the things that you can control, one of them is your attitude. Boom. You can change your attitude. You can control that. Just tell yourself you're going to do it. Look in the mirror every single day and do it. Just change your attitude. Your network. Who do you surround yourself with? Who's your posse? Who are you running with? We're only sometimes as good as the people that we hang out with. So hang out with people. If you would like to be in this group, then you need to start associating with them. You're not going to try to find somebody, if you're associating in a different group, go get involved in an organization that has similar type of people and start finding out what makes that type of a person tick. Those are the things that you want to do so you can control your network. You can control your physique, your health. You really can. Okay, so you're not going to go from A to Z immediately. If you start working on it today, so many people, well, I'm going to start losing weight after the first of the year. When did they start that conversation? Like before Thanksgiving. So they let themselves go for another 45 days. What would have happened if they would have said on November 15th, I'm going to start today. Today I'm starting my 2022 health review. I'm starting it today. Instead, they packed in another 15, 18 pounds and another 40. You can control your physique. Even if it's just that much, you can make a difference. But you can make a difference. You can control your gratitude. Gratitude is a great thing to have. Be grateful. Search of reasons to be grateful. Create reasons to be grateful. If you see somebody do something nice for you, say thank you. You can control your habits. We all talk about that. Again, James Clear, Atomic Habits, great book. I'm going through it the second time now. And again, I've never even thought of the system that he utilizes. But when you look at it and you say, wow, that is why I've been, those cues. We walk into a situation, boom, and it clicks, and we eat the chocolate. Wow, I never even thought of that. That's the reason I do it. I think this, so I do this. You've got to change that cue. You got to change the stimulus and be able to focus it in another direction and use it in a positive way. But you can change your habits, and you can control how you work, the effort you give every single day. There are days all of us come to work and go, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Or this is just getting too much for me. I've got too much. I'm overwhelmed. I've got too many things piling up. Many times it's because we procrastinated on something else, or we had the wrong attitude or the wrong thought process. But you can control the way you work. Your engagement to your team. I don't do things because of how somebody else does them. I can only control me, and what I do helps them. If they take appreciation of that, I can't deal with it. I mean, it's out of my control. Yet you can control the way you work. And so those things that you can control in the upcoming year are really important. Control your attitude, control your network, control your health, your physique, how you carry yourself, control your gratitude, work on your habits, start forming some positive habits. It's if you just get on the ground once a day and do a plank for 5 minutes, it's better than not doing it. If you did 2 push-ups, like Bob, I can only do 2 push-ups. 2's better than none. 2 might lead to 3. 3 might lead to 4. Who knows? In a couple of months, you might be doing 25 or 30. But you got to start somewhere so you can control that. You can control your gratitude. I've made it a point. If I see somebody walking into a store, I'll sit there and wait and hold that door for them. Not because I want them to say, oh, look at that nice gentleman. No. It's my gratitude to the world. It's what I want the world to reflect. I've got to show. And that's gratitude. If I want the rest of the world to reflect that, then I need to show that. And I need to live that. And then maybe they will. So then your habits and your work. Your attitude at work, your engagement. Always remember, 1/3 of all employees are disengaged. 1/3 are highly engaged. The other third are like just those good workers, come to work, go home. But are you one of the third that are highly engaged, or are you one of the third that are disengaged? That's something that you've got to check on yourself. It goes back to that attitude. So, recapping today, we've got a lot of classes coming up. Dale Carnegie class, this is MotivationU the Podcast, but it's really driven by Dale Carnegie training. That's my whole world, is Dale Carnegie training and building that. We have an incredible franchise out of Jacksonville. We cover from Jacksonville to Tallahassee, down to Gainesville, all the way up to Cordele, Georgia. We have a lot of counties in that area. I don't know how many. It used to be 34. Now I think it's over 40, maybe closer to 45 counties now. And we're always looking for people that love to sell too. If you're interested in ever getting involved in Dale Carnegie, please get to me through Facebook. My email address, which is bob.ganzak@dalecarnegie.com. We're always looking for people to come in and help and share and learn. So I would love to have you be a part of our life and the things that we do. But we do have some classes coming up. January 25th, Hotel Indigo in Gainesville, which is it's 1 night a week for 8 weeks. Goes from 6 to 9:30 every Tuesday night. That same Tuesday in Jacksonville on Phillips Highway at World Financial Building, we will be doing also a Dale Carnegie class from 6 to 9:30. So you can sign up at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. Find courses, just go and sign up from them. We already have on the other side of my whiteboard here, quite a few people signed up for both programs. So we'd love to have you join us. Also going to work on one coming for February, probably early February in Lake City. I'm working with Joey O'Hearn, the head of the Chamber of Commerce in Lake City, and we'll be putting that one together. So we're all good. We're all set. And I appreciate everything that Evan has done today for the whole year. Evan, you are the best, man. And I appreciate you. And my relationship with Freddie Wiebe, Coach Spurrier, and the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Spain Dirkelbotten and the folks at Celebration Point, just absolutely love them. Can't wait to see you again next week and be there. For all of our sponsors, everybody that gets involved in our programs, have a happy and blessed new year. My name is Bob Ganzak, and this is Motivation U, the podcast.